So what if everything you know about burnout is wrong? So there was a time in my life where I was doing everything I was supposed to do. I got the job, I was working very hard, I was showing up, I was performing, I was getting all the accolades and the promotions and reward. I still woke up every morning feeling like something is off. I was feeling quite drained, depleted, tired all the time, but I'd still put on a smile and show up to work because that's what you were supposed to do. The truth is, this is burnout. From a spiritual standpoint, this means that you're disconnected from yourself, from who you really are. But what I know for sure is that when you feel depleted and drained from doing things you're supposed to do, this is really the price you're paying because you're living a life that's not your own. You're following parameters and instructions that's been set by society or your parents or a different version of yourself even. And your entire nervous system, your entire being is trying to tell you that this is not in alignment anymore. We're tired of pretending that everything is okay and what you're doing is not sustainable. So for context, global research institutes have shown that between 40 and 80% of people will go through burnout in their careers. Now, this is wild to me, but what's really interesting about these studies is that when they look into these employees and the ones who don't experience burnout, they had a strong sense of purpose and a connection between who they are and what they're doing. People who had this combination of purpose and alignment with their work were less likely to experience burnout. The numbers are about 11% compared to 80% of people who don't have that alignment in their work. Let's go through some of the misconceptions that people have around burnout. The first misconception that people have around burnout is around volume. They think I'm burnt out because I'm doing too much. I'm taking on too much work. I'm working long hours. But this isn't true because we have examples of people who are very successful, who work very long hours, but feel so rejuvenated by what they do. Oprah Winfrey, for example, during the height of her talk show career. I also have a story about this because when I started my career as a consultant, I used to travel from state to state in the US, across continents, across different time zones. I'd be working with my clients. Maybe I'll spend a week with them, helping them implement and set up their software systems. And I never once felt depleted during that time. And the difference wasn't the volume of the work. It was because I was able to align what I was doing with my own natural gifts that life has given me. So I love people. I love to serve. I love to get to know people, to help people achieve more for themselves. And the moment I started to bring that lens into my work and not just mechanically set up these software systems, but really have conversations with my clients to say, what does this really mean for your team? Like, how were you doing things before? How is this going to make your lives easier? It gave me that energy I needed to find that human component in the work that I was doing and then use my work as a way to now help a whole department of people be way more efficient, save them more time. I found a way to connect what I was doing with something bigger than myself, and I never ever felt burnt out, even though I was working so hard, super long hours, traveling across different time zones for months and months at a time, never felt burnt out. Now let's juxtapose that with another time in my career where I was a sales engineering leader. So I had a group of sales engineers and our primary focus was numbers. How can we support the sales team to make as many sales as possible, make as much money as possible? And that human component was removed. I couldn't find that connection, that alignment between what I was doing and my purpose. I couldn't bring that into the work because everything was so rigid and there was a very firm strategy to get the sale. And as a result, I was burnt out in a few months. I would still show up to work smiling. Of course, we got the sales and made the money, but I felt horrible on the inside to the point that I eventually had to quit. It's not about the quantity of the work that's being done. It's more about how does the work I'm doing align with who I am? Can I use more of me, my gifts, my knowledge, my talents in this work to serve other people? If you can find a way to marry these two components together, your work becomes this symbiotic exchange where you're providing your service to your employer, but the work is also serving you because it's giving you the opportunity to be more of you and you feel more alive as a result. The second is around rest, right? So a lot of people think that I'm burnt out, so I just need to take a break from everything. I just need to rest and that's going to fix me being burnt out. On paper, this is logical. It feels right. I'm working long. I just need to not work and then all of that will go away. But how many of us have actually gone on holiday from work? You've taken the 2 weeks off, you've sat on the beach, you've tried not to think about work. And yes, you feel energized, you feel renewed, but in a few days or a week or a couple of weeks, you're back to where you were before you left. That's because in this case, rest is just like pushing the pause button on the pain of burnout. You're just putting a pause on it. You're not healing it. You're not doing anything about it. You're just taking a break from the pain. But what actually solves the issue of burnout in this instance is alignment. Now, again, I'm not saying rest is wrong, because I do think we all need rest. Even the most inspired, the most aligned people, the most gifted people need rest. But rest alone in the midst of burnout is not the antidote that people think it is. Now, what you should do in the time that you're taking off is take that time to really reconnect with yourself. Ask yourself those hard-hitting questions. Like, first of all, why am I doing this, right? Second of all, if I have to do this because, say, I have a family, I have to provide, I've got a mortgage, completely valid. I don't think everyone can pull the plug and just start afresh and do what they really want to do with their lives. I think life offers us certain constraints that we have to make work until we get to do what we want to do. But if you can't leave the job that's burning you out, then you can ask questions of, A, what am I really good at? What do I do effortlessly? What makes me feel alive? And how can I inject this into what I'm doing? So a good example is, if you're a really good teacher and you love explaining things to people, how can you bring that into work? How can you participate in more trainings at work? Or how can you run workshops at work where you get to educate people and use that part of yourself in the work that you do? Right? Because just taking a break from the work and coming back and doing the exact same thing is not going to solve that problem. But rest married with introspection and bringing that part of yourself into work without the need for permission is the antidote that you really need in this instance. The last misconception that people have around burnout is the idea that, okay, I've taken the rest, I've decided what makes me feel alive, I'm going to start educating people because I'm a natural educator. And then they go into work and they do that for maybe a week or so, and then something happens and they're back to square one, and then they feel, discouraged. So this is the notion that alignment is not necessarily the one-stop fix for burnout. It's not just the thing that you do once that's going to solve all the issues. Alignment at work is a practice. It's something that you do in small steps every day. In every interaction that you're in, you make that conscious decision to bring more of yourself into that engagement. You practice aligning who you really are to how you're going to serve in every single interaction that you have at work. In conclusion, burnout is not a sentence. It's not something that you have to live with. It's simply a signal from your life telling you that whatever you're doing is not sustainable and you need to do something differently. The fix is not reducing your workload. The fix is not running away from the issue and taking some rest and some time away. The fix is consistent practice of alignment, bringing your full self into work, finding a way to exercise parts of you that make you feel alive in the work that you do, and then using that work to serve other people. That's how you beat the burden of burnout and you start to live a more aligned and fulfilled life and enjoy what you do. Thank you again for joining us today on this episode. If you've enjoyed it, please feel free to subscribe, like, and share this content with people who might find it useful. And I'll catch you on the next one.